Hey everyone, welcome back to Moonrise. This is Sam here. I'm sitting here with Nadia. Hi, Nadia.
Hello.
And today we're sharing another excerpt from our Gates and Channels class. So we haven't been creating a lot on the podcast because Nadia and I spent a lot of time over 4 months, hours each week, recording, teaching about human design. And we did this because we want people to who are interested in human design to have places to learn it and accessible ways to learn it. Um, we have released, this is our second of this episode, a few excerpts from our Gates and Channels course, which is our 17-hour pre recorded, so it's self paced class for those who want to go deep into Gates and Channels. In today's episode, we're talking about Gate 42, the Gate of Growth, which is Nadia's Sun Gate.
It's such a
Nadia's fist bumping.
yeah, I'm fist pumping for those who can't see me. It's honestly the more time that I spend with my human design chart, I just feel so grateful to have language to describe how I feel inside. And that's what the magic of this whole system is really finding out that my energy type, my decision-making authority, my profile, but knowing my gates and coming back to my gates again and again gives me so much. I want to say, like, I feel so empowered in what I'm choosing to spend my
Mm.
time on and what I'm choosing to, like, what already felt right to me. But something about seeing it reinforced in my chart, I'm like, okay, I'm not off base here. Like, there's a reason why I'm gravitating toward this field or this project or this potential connection because it all is in service of this theme of human experience. And it sounds like an oversimplification, but truly, if you spend time in studying the gates of human design, you will find, like, oh, it makes so much sense why I was always drawn to this thing as a child, or why I was interested in these extracurriculars. And um, it's such a cool thing when I give readings, and I'm sure you have this experience too, Sam, where I start talking about people's gates and especially their top four. So when you look at your chart, the ones in the uppermost right-hand corner and the uppermost left-hand corner, the top two on either side, that I don't have to do much else than describe the energy of these gates or these gifts. And they're like, oh my God, I'm remembering this long lost passion that I had that I left by the wayside several years ago because I thought, who would want to hear that from me? Or who would want to, like, this is silly. And then they remember it, and there's this spark of like childlike wonder and awe that comes back, and they feel more energized than when they started. And it just is, it's so life-giving to see, like, this is not by accident that you feel this way. And you don't have to spend your whole life comparing yourself to other people and measuring yourself to what other people are doing. Like, there is something that is like a more specific rubric or manual to how you are designed to exist in the world.
Oh my gosh, I love the way that you just described this. So, gates, just a quick refresh for anyone who doesn't know it, they're the numbers on the left and right side of your chart. They're written out. They're kind of 1 through 64. And they also are in the shapes. We call them centers in your chart. And they speak to your gifts, but also like your specific energy. So, some of it we could describe as a gift, but sometimes it's also just like how it feels to be you and what you're drawn to and your biggest themes. And I really agree with you, Nadia, that when you know those things and it's in your chart, we forget things about ourselves. And we have so many choices in front of us all the time and limited time and limited resources. And I find myself coming back to gates all the time when making decisions. I'm thinking about right now, like, I want to start doing these certain types of in person events here in Austin. And sometimes I'm like, is that the best use of my time? Like, blah blah blah, like it's gonna be a lot of time, I have to figure things out, like there's all these steps I need to go through. And then I remember that my top four gates are literally about that. And it's this extra push of this gut knowing of like that's a good use of your time, and this extra reflection of something objective outside of me saying you get the most satisfaction in your life when you lean into these things. And so when you have opportunities to lean into them, take them if they feel right. Be maybe a little more open minded to those things, a little more experimental, like try them a little bit more because there's probably more for you there. And I found that to be true in my life many times, but I forget. Like, I feel like I spend a lot of time on understanding myself and like working on my confidence and knowing my gifts and all of that, but I forget. And then to go back and remember this material, even when we were recording this course, going back and reading these gifts and of gates that we have, like I have, and be like, oh yeah, I have that. Like I tell myself I'm not good at that thing, but actually, like I am, I think. And what if I believed it? Like, what if you believed that you are good at the things that you are good at? And what if you thought that maybe that could be true? And what ideas and opportunities could arise?
We all come here with this childlike awe, wonder, curiosity, and natural proclivity towards things that we don't judge. But somewhere along the way, we start to judge those qualities or compare ourselves to others or need to stack up against our peers or are conditioned in some way by our parents or teachers. And I do feel like human design brings you back to this core essence of you in such a wonderful way. And so we really wanted to. So there are 64 gates in human design, and there are 36 channels that are comprised of those 64 gates. And the channels are basically these roads or connective tissues that are connected with a gate on either end. And we have this course now available that Sam and I created together that goes through all of these aspects in a deep dive with a lot of specific, nuanced examples for each gate and for each channel. And this Gates and Channels course is available for only $275. This is basically the cost of a human design reading that you can book through most readers online. So we've made this very intentionally accessible, but this information is not found many other places. And especially the specific examples of you can read about the gates and channels, but they're in this kind of like esoteric, hard to navigate language. And the way that Sam and I bring it to life is through the hundreds of readings that we both have done and specific examples so that it can come to life. And then as you understand it in your own chart or someone else's chart, it's like, it could be viewed this way. And we're talking about it theoretically, but we're giving you an actual example of gate 42 deep dive so you can feel what that would be like for each of the gates and the channels.
This is Nadia's top gate, her sun gate, and I feel this energy from her so much. But look to see if you have 42 anywhere in your chart or anyone of your loved one's chart. And I think if you like human design, you'll enjoy learning about it. And it's kind of fun to listen to other stuff to remind yourself of like, oh yeah, it's still really interesting. I don't have gate 42. I love learning about it. It's still very interesting to learn about energies that we don't have. But and to kind of think about that and to notice, do we feel connected to that energy? Do we not? What things do we have that might be similar? Why are we drawn to it? Are we repelled by it? Like it's just all of it is information. Um, as Nadia said, we made a video for each one. So each video we average about 8 minutes. Some are 7, some are up to like 12. But on average, you can expect around 8 minutes for all 100 of those videos. And then there's additional videos talking about more advanced concepts like circuitry and the Rave mandala. And then we have some group discussions that we included from times when we've taught this live, just to throw it in there for anybody who likes learning in that format. So there's well over 100 videos, and I'm excited to share it because most people that I see sharing out gates or channels offer just a few hours, and that doesn't do this information justice. So
Not at all.
if you're interested in human design, I promise I'm not just saying this because I made this. We made it because if you're interested in human design, you need this information. Like it really
Absolutely.
adds such a depth. It is so fun to know of your energy type. I'm a manifesting generator, to know I'm a 4-1 emotional MG. You can get a lot out of that, but it really, like, there's so much that comes from gates. And so if you're feeling that, I encourage, if anything, enjoy these videos, but I encourage you to consider it. And then if you want to learn more about human design, we offer a 40-hour deep dive human design class that includes this gate course, but also includes over 20 hours of lectures talking about all the centers, all the profiles, the energy types, all what an incarnation cross is. That's available for $500. We price these very low, based off of very low compared to all the energy we put into it, just the time, but also like the true years of study, the thousands of hours of study that it took to be able to speak on it at this level, and just competitively what anyone else is doing, because we just want people who love human design or who are interested in it to have it because it's transformed our lives. And so
Yeah.
it feels like this gift that we get to give.
All the courses that I see out there are $2,000 to $10,000. Um, and a lot of them actually don't even have this level of depth and nuance for gates and channels. So we're really proud of this. We're really excited to offer it. Get a taste for what it will feel like. And without further ado, we are excited to introduce Gate 42. Gate 42, the gate of growth. The center that this is connected to is the sacral motor. So we know that this energy is here to be sort of like sustaining, life-giving in response as well, especially if the sacral is defined in your chart. The astrological sign that this is connected to is Aries. Aries is the start of the zodiac. It is spring energy. It is the thing that brings sort of like a bud in the a seed in the ground up into a bud that protrudes out of the earth and says, okay, we're going to spark newness. And I always think of the gate of growth as being such an interesting plant-based analogy for that kind of energy of spring, the gate of growth. The I Ching keyword here is increase, which I find very interesting, growth or increase. So this is my number one gate in human design, meaning it is up at the top right-hand corner, just like this chart. This is not my chart, but mine is placed in this same top right-hand corner. And I love talking about gate 42 because it is one of my greatest lessons. It's one of my greatest growing edges in this lifetime and one of my greatest gifts. So gate 42, the gate of growth. If you have this gate prominently in your chart, you are designed to be focused on closing outdated cycles and patterns and really sort of assessing what is it that we're stuck in so that we can move forward, so that we can increase, so that we can grow. Think of the I Ching keyword increase as almost kind of like leveling up in the video game of life. It's like, okay, we're operating on this level. How do we need to move past these stuck patterns to grow ourselves and to increase our position or our place in life? From maybe a monetary standpoint, but also from an emotional or a spiritual perspective. So, Gate 42 people, you are designed to have this inner tenacity. Tenacity is a wonderful word to describe the energy of the sacral. This tenacity to stay with a cycle, especially if your sacral is also defined, in order to maximize its inherent potential for learning. It's like, hold on a second. I'm not going to just move forward in the video game. This level of the video game. I'm going to make sure that I really learn what's here for me so that I can progress and not have to redo the lesson that's available in this moment. Our lives are always asking us for spiritual growth and development. That is why we're here. That is why we incarnate into these human bodies, into the lives, families, organizations, friendships that we are related to. And Gate 42 is here to help us remember and be attuned to this truth that if we don't learn a lesson properly, we're going to find it repeated in many other areas of our life. Everything is interconnected. So let's say you look back at your relationship history and you're like, wow, it's really interesting. I've had the same sort of pattern show up in basically all of my romantic connections, or maybe a friendship connection. And then that lesson isn't fully learned. So then it's repeated in another completely separate friend. And that is what Gate 42 is helping us remember and learn, that if we don't learn a lesson properly and draw awareness to what pattern we're stuck in, and we're all stuck in patterns, that it will continue repeating itself until it's learned so that we can move forward. That is what builds spiritual growth and resilience. Sam, I'm going to tap you in here.
Oh, I love this. So I was before this, I was hosting a workshop and I had somebody born under gate 42. I led them in a meditation and we were talking about fear, rejection, and in it he had this big insight of, oh my God, I have this fear and it's related to this experience I had when I was in high school and I didn't know how it was playing out. And now that I see it, like he texted me after, I was like, I was like shaky talking about it. It feels like really meaningful to me. And of course, anybody can have that experience, but I think the gate of growth, when he was sharing, you could just tell, like, wow, I see all this insight. I'm ready to grow in this way. He set this intention, essentially, ready to grow in this way. And I'm ready to kind of look in my life and what do I need to learn so I can grow. And I think that's the overarching energy. What needs to happen so we can grow? And this gate has the wisdom of identifying what needs to happen. In this example, and I see it so often with Nadia, is what lesson do I need to know? What do I need to heal from my high school experience? So now as 10 years later, I'm not held back by this. What did I learn in that conflict with a friend? So I don't keep making that same, like, I don't keep having that same conflict. And I think people with this gate will have this ability to spot that, to spot when someone else is repeating patterns, which is one of the many reasons Nadia is a phenomenal therapist. You can see, like, okay, these are the things that need to shift so that this person can grow and move forward into that quote new level of the video game, or said another way, into more connected relationships, for feeling more growth and success, or whatever emotion they want to be in. Sometimes we refer, or I've heard Nadia refer to this gate, and I agree with it, as like a um, like self-help gate, and this like love of growing individually. And I think anybody with this gate needs to find ways, they probably already have them innately, that they love to grow. And so that could be emotional, spiritual, but it doesn't have to be. It could be creatively or physically, or in service, or in intellect, or some way. But growth is always going to be important to you. And if you are not connected to growth and you have this gate, really ask yourself why. Because my guess is it's your natural instinct. Actually, I think it's everyone's, but especially this, it's your natural instinct to grow and to move forward. And there might be something getting in the way of that natural expansive ability that you have.
Absolutely. And there's so many different ways to grow. I like had a flashback of all these different phases of my life where at one point I was working in marketing. So I read all these marketing books and I was growing in that way. And then I was working on my finances. So I was reading all these books about finances and investing in real estate. Then I was really into my body. And so I was getting into Whole30 and diet, like sort of like learning how to nourish my body in more natural ways that are connected to the earth. And then I got into human design, and that's a different way of growing. And you might find if you have gate 42 that you're just naturally inclined toward all different ways to grow yourself. One thing that I want to add here is that gate 42 is also sometimes called the gate of endings. And so it might sound counterintuitive, like this is at the start of the zodiac, the Aries energy, this growth like sprouting out from the earth. But it is also about closing cycles to be in order to begin anew. So when you've properly learned a lesson, that creates a beginning very naturally, but you must end things properly. So I know a lot of gate of growth people that are very good at celebrating the milestones of life. So, I mean, I can think about this in my own life that I really love when I get to the actual thing. So I was planning my wedding for a year, but actually being in the wedding weekend felt so nourishing because it was like, let's bring this to its proper conclusion. Or I honestly, I love like the end of working with a client, a therapy client, because it's like, okay, we've been through all of this whole cycle and being there at the end. I also have a lot of interest in end of life therapy, working with people at the end of their lives, maybe doing psychedelic therapy so that they can work with death anxiety and helping them die well and die emotionally and spiritually connected to themselves. And so you may find gate 42 that you're a catalyst for growth for other people. This is part of the collective circuitry, but that you're also interested in how things can be ended and brought to their proper conclusion for others.
Okay, Nadia, I have kind of a tricky question, but it's coming to mind. So I want to see if you have an answer to it. And that is, for so much of the collective circuitry, we apply this energy. This energy is outward. But this is an example where the energy, we also often see it inward. And so why do you think that is? Or like, do you have any just like commentary, insight on that? How like this actually energy can work really well when you apply it to yourself? Or maybe have you found that it doesn't work as well? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I'm hearing that question is like it's both. If you have gate 42, you're going to very much like think about growth for yourself. But ultimately, the greatest use of this gift is collectively facing. So you're meant to be sharing this gift with others. So, I mean, I'm thinking about it through my own lens, but I'm thinking of other people that have this. Like, I'm thinking of somebody born under gate 42 who's a lawyer. And they're constantly learning from their different caseloads and then applying those learnings, that growth, those lessons to the people that they're working with, their clients. Did I answer your question? It's both.
Yeah, I guess it's like, because so much of collective, we don't apply it to ourselves. And like we've made that point so many times. And so I'm just trying to distinguish it for people of like this. I think the reason that this one, it does work, and I think all of them you can apply, but I think with other collective circuitry, it can get very confusing very quickly. Like I'm thinking of the gate of doubt or gate 58 in vitality, and it can very easily be like gate 18 on correction. It can very easily be turned on yourself. And I think maybe the same with gate of growth of it can show you the ways that you grow, but if you're growing so quickly that it's becoming where you're getting so obsessed with the growth that you're losing sight of yourself, you're losing sight of the relationship, or there isn't balance, or that maybe the growth is or the endings are coming in a way that feels harsh, then it's like, okay, let's put this growth out to others, because you don't need to grow to get things that you want. Like you are not a constant self-help or growth like project. Like you can just be. That might help to kind of square that. Do you see what I'm going with this?
I totally do. And just to talk about the other gate that's part of this channel, gate 53, the gate of beginnings, it's the same thing where it's like you will want to start things. And so can you find healthy outlets for it? But it's like you can go too far. There is too much of a good thing. And when it's applied individually, it's not like sort of taking the role that it's meant to be used for, which is a collective gift to bring society forward. And so always trusting your strategy and authority to know the right timing. And I very much relate to what you're saying, where, I mean, gate 42 is an Aries gate. Aries is the individual, it's the impulsive kind of like starter. And so I can see this being wrapped up in itself, where it's like, okay, well, I'm always growing. But if it's always turned inward, it's like, are you actually helping the people around you grow?
And so I think that's kind of the message here, the like maybe shadow with it of like your growth is not just around yourself. And however it is that you help close endings, like grow in others, and same with endings, I think there could be with endings either like a fear of ending things or an ability to end things impulsively. And so where this energy goes to is a wisdom with endings and knowing what is the right time to stay and being able to stay in things, not ending things too quickly or too harshly just because you're ready to end it. Is the way that this energy can be used at like its highest, and kind of like the signpost that something might be going a little wrong, because all gates have shadows and highest expressions.
Yes. And in the last paragraph bullet here, it says, if your sacral is also defined, it's important that you enter into commitments properly and correctly, following your authority, because it might feel really difficult for you to end things prematurely. So there can be this kind of like desire to stick with a cycle way too long, which is very interesting. And then the final thing I'll say here, from my perspective, is that I've studied the gene key here. And gene keys are basically taking the 64 gates and sharing about their shadow, their sort of like neutral placement, and then their highest placement. And the highest placement of gate 42 is the celebrant, the person that's looking at all the different milestones of life. And Sam, a mutual client of ours, somebody who's taken human design training, whose chart is right here, I'm thinking I follow her on social media, and she's always celebrating the people in her life, the birthdays, the milestones, the graduations. Like there's always this constant stream of the people in her life that she's posting about, being like, I'm so proud of you. Like, look at you grow, look at you go. And that I think is the highest expression of this gift, is just recognizing the growth and sort of cheering on the growth of those around you.
Yeah, oh, I like that. And measuring, like celebrating the growth rather than like the achievement, or like always like being so focused on what happens. So be like, you just grew. So amazing. And then I want to just reiterate that point, Nadia, excuse me, about with sacrals being defined. And I think especially for manifesting generators, I've seen this come in where people will be MGs. So manifesting generators, we often give the advice that it's okay to leave, it's okay to quit, you need to pivot quickly. But then we have the gate of growth saying you need to stay with cycles. You need to have the tenacity to stay with them. So they're a little bit at odds there. And it's not that they're at odds, but well, they might feel like it, but the energies can flow together. It's just that it's especially important that people, I think everybody be wise, but I think it just creates an extra challenge for defined sacrals and particularly manifesting generators, because if they are doing something they don't want to be in, they'll start to get frustrated, but then they'll have this part of them that doesn't feel like they can leave. And so really making your commitments, especially long-term commitments, wisely, trusting that sacral, avoiding pressures of I should be doing this or I should stay with this. So you actually maintain the energy to stay with the cycle and it feels good and you can complete it and you aren't getting frustrated because part of you is ready to go, but part of you feels like you need to stay.
Mhm.